Hello, this is Skip, and this is From the Fourth Row. I've already given you my best animated movie, my best comedy, and my worst movies of the year. Now it's time for my best, most favorite movies of the year. And I'm kind of going to cheat a little bit on number five. I'm just going to do five movies as number five. And it's because they all kind of have a similar theme to them. And that's Midlife Crisis. This year we've had five really good movies about men going through midlife crisis. The first one I saw is probably the best of all of them is Company Men. And Company Men stars Ben Affleck, Tommy Lee Jones, Chris Cooper, and Kevin Costner in a movie about these three men that lose their job. And these four Oscar winners are fantastic in this. They know what to do with this material, and they know that this is serious subject matter, and it's hard hitting, and it's what people are going through all out the country. And these guys do a fantastic job in Company Men. Now the next one is Win-Win. Paul Giamatti, one of the best actors of the last couple of years, does some wonderful work as a lawyer slash wrestling coach, and he takes this material very seriously, and he knows what to do with it as well. And the other two that I'm going to talk about, and then I got one more after that, and that's Everything Must Go with Will Ferrell. And Will Ferrell, one of our better comedians, but he takes a serious role about a man, once again, loses his job, gets thrown out of his house, all his stuff thrown on the lawn. He has a yard sale, and he lives on his lawn. And he takes this material seriously. All these actors, they know the material. They're not messing around, and the people making these movies know that these are serious stories. Now, Mel Gibson, whether you like Mel Gibson or if you don't like Mel Gibson, if you think he's wacky, him and Jodie Foster are making a movie about a real man going through real problems and a real family going through real problems. And Anton Yelchin and Jennifer Lawrence do great work in this as well. He just chooses to, go through life with a beaver puppet after, he gets thrown out of his house. I mean, each one of these movies is different in its own way, but they're all very serious, and they're very good movies, and the acting by these powerhouse actors is second to none. And the last one is the most recent that I saw, and Tom Hanks, he can do no wrong. Very few movies can I say that I didn't like that he was in. And Larry Crowne, once again, a guy gets fired from his job. This time the reason is he doesn't have a college education. He goes to college with the help of a next door neighbor, some advice, played by Cedric the Entertainer. He gets along with the teacher, the students, and him. They change his outlook on life. They change his wardrobe, what he looks like. He ends up driving around in a scooter brigade. I mean, it's just such a good little movie. Tom Hanks hasn't directed a movie in 15 years. It's like he's been directing for 30 years. He produced, directed, and stars in this. And, once again, him and Julia Roberts hit a high note with Larry Crowne after their great movie that got severely overlooked by people a couple of years ago, Charlie Wilson's War. They were phenomenal in that. And they really do good, solid work in Larry Crowne. And, I know it's five movies, but I think the subject matter makes it my fifth best movie of the year. Five movies on one subject, midlife crisis, and I think all these actors in these movies show why they're top notch, and they've been acting a long time, and they get good roles, and they get good material. Now my number four is Source Code. Now Source Code is about a man named Colter Stevens who keeps getting sent back in time to a train that is about to explode, but he's only got 8 minutes to figure out why. And so time after time he goes back trying to figure out what's going on, and his only help is a woman named Christine, played by Michelle Monaghan. Now, this, in the wrong hands, can be just kind of a kooky, dorky kind of movie. But Duncan Jones in his second movie after Moon really knows this material and knows what to do with it, with really good character work from Vera Farmiga and Jeffrey Wright. Jake Gyllenhaal shows why he's a powerhouse in Hollywood right now, and he handles this role as Colter Stevens phenomenally. And I just loved Source Code. Now, my number 3 movie of the year is The Adjustment Bureau. What can I say about The Adjustment Bureau? Matt Damon plays David Norris, an aspiring senator. When he loses his Senate battle, he ends up going in the men's room of his hotel, and by chance meets Elise, played by Emily Blunt. And it's love at first sight. Of course, there are a group of men, the Adjustment Bureau, that this wasn't supposed to happen, so they have to adjust David's life to make sure that he doesn't meet Elise again. Now, the Adjustment Bureau are like Men in Black, if you will. Anthony Mackie of The Hurt Locker, John Slattery of Mad Men, and Terrence Stamp, you know him as the voice of Jor-El in Smallville, and also of Zod in Superman movies. These guys do fantastic work as kind of emotionless kind of Men in Black. Now, wouldn't you know it, David Norris accidentally meets up with Elise again on a bus, and that sets off a chase, and the love romance kind of story ensues, and these two cannot live without each other. I just think, though, this movie, The Adjustment Bureau, asks some questions, and the questions are valid points. Philip K. Dick, he's wrote Minority Report, Blade Runner, and Total Recall. Now, he likes to set science fiction with reality, and he does a really good job with this short story that expanded into a motion picture. I highly recommend The Adjustment Bureau. It is such a wonderful love story, and it's a great movie, and I think it stands up as one of the best movies now, and will be there at the end of the year as one of the best movies. Now, my number 2 best movie is another kind of romantic movie, but in a different way. You got Owen Wilson, who plays Gil, and he's married to Inez, played by Rachel McAdams. Now, they are on vacation in Paris, and one night they get separated. Gil decides to go back to the hotel by himself, and he ends up taking a cab, and I don't know what happens. I don't know if it's a time traveling cab or what, but he ends up back in the 1920s, the swinging 20s, the flapper days, and in a couple bars he ends up meeting up with Salvador Dali and Ernest Hemingway. Woody Allen has an absolute hit on his hands, and this could be the best movie he's directed in a long time. He's been directing movies in and around Europe for about 10 years now, in England, Spain, now he's in France. But I think he really hit a absolute home run with Midnight in Paris, and I highly recommend, if you haven't seen a Woody Allen movie, you should see Midnight in Paris. Now, my number 1 movie of the year, you're going to probably say, yeah, right, whatever, but it stands up as a great movie, and it stands up as a historical piece, and it also stands up as a science fiction fantasy, and also a movie that you can learn something from. Now, you take mutants and you put them in a story like the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it can get a little hokey. But Matthew Vaughn doesn't let it get hokey. He takes this material seriously, and he puts James McAvoy, who plays Professor X, Charles Xavier, and Michael Fassbender, Eric Lechner, otherwise known as Magneto, in roles that they can succeed in, and where they go out and they recruit new mutants, and these mutants have to help them defend against Kevin Bacon's Sebastian Shaw, who wants to set the Russians versus the United States. Now, this could get really wacky, with the nuclear war and all this kind of stuff. But it doesn't. It makes complete sense that these mutants helps, save the Earth. And they put themselves out there at this point. I mean, I absolutely loved X-Men First Class, and I think if you see this movie, you're seeing a history event while watching a science fiction / comic book movie. And it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of filmmaking, and I hope Matthew Vaughn does some sequels, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the work by some of the co-starring people, like January Jones plays Emma Frost, and Jennifer Lawrence plays Mystique. And these two young ladies are just beginning their great acting careers, and I think you'll see why if you watch X-Men First Class. That's not #1 movie of the year, halfway through the year. This has been From the Fourth Row.